news for Bungie. Um, and though it is big news, it's not necessarily good news. And I mean, it could be worse. It could be the end entirely, but it appears as though we will be seeing Bungie differently from now on. I'm gonna go ahead and go to Mint Blitz's video here. Huge shout out to Mint Blitz. If you don't know who he is, definitely worth a follow on YouTube. If you're interested in Halo content at all or anything related to Halo, basically Mint Blitz is a he's a trick shotter, streamer, uh pro Halo gamer, been around for a long time. But we're gonna check out his video here. It's kind of a short one, and it's got some big news for the Halo community. Well, not really the Halo community, more like the Destiny community right now. And if you haven't heard about the controversy with Marathon, it also pertains to that as well. It sounds as though Marathon may, in fact, be getting canceled, potentially shut down, or delayed. So we're gonna get into this Bungie news. As you can see there, somewhat of a clickbaity picture. Bungie, it's over. But that actually could be very true. So let's dive into it.
Bungie set to be fully absorbed by PlayStation after Destiny 2 and Marathon missed the mark. I can't say I didn't see this coming, truthfully. I've been covering Bungie and Marathon news for the past few months, and after Sony paid $3.6 billion for the original Halo creators, they've seen
Yeah.
nothing in terms of a return on their investment. Destiny 2 is over time losing steam and player base. That's not
Yeah, so that's a big part of it. If you don't know about the whole Marathon controversy, basically Bungie has made a name for themselves as plagiarists. Over the last 4 or 5 years, Bungie has plagiarized a number of fans' workings, in the form of photos, in the form of uh, digital concepts, in the form of all kinds of different things. They stole art, they stole video clips, they stole a design from like a fan art depiction of a gun that like didn't even exist in the game, and then they legitimately stole that person's art and sold it as a promotional Nerf gun, which was pretty shitty. Didn't give any of the people that they stole the stuff from any kind of recognition at all until they were called out for it. But their most recent thing was with Marathon. And Marathon has been viewed very controversially due to the fact that it has a very weird aesthetic, does not fall in line with the gritty kind of old school style of Marathon from back in the day. And it really just didn't hit the mark with a lot of people. It has a lot of that kind of androgynous kind of art style to it that has really put a lot of people off in the last few years, let's be honest. I mean, regardless of where you stand politically, nobody really gives a shit. What we're talking about is just like aesthetics. Like they really went out of their way to completely drain Marathon of any kind of its original style or integrity. They took all of the story out of it, and it just like the people that play tested it hated it. The aesthetics Like the design of everything supposedly was like one of the only positive remarks that they got, but in that same vein of that being like the only positive remark that they got, it was also viewed negatively because it really was a step apart from the old marathon and people weren't really into it. And it's supposed to be online all the time, freaking survival shooter like Tarkov or whatever, and not very many people are into that. And in order to get anything out of the story, you have to survive. And with like a 30%, like 20% survival rate, that's not very encouraging for a lot of people. Bloodlust from the future here. One of the things that I forgot to mention in this segment was the fact that Marathon's art style was completely ripped off from a small artist's art found on their Twitter page and on several other, like their LinkedIn and several other locations. And it just so happened that not even just like segments of the overall art style were ripped off, but in fact, like direct assets, literal images directly from that artist's portfolio, that I will post on screen here, of course, that were found in game that were used at a 1-to-1. And the most egregious thing was not even did they just use the assets at a 1-to-1 directly from this person's portfolio, but they also scrubbed out any markers or any kind of identifiers that would tell somebody who created the image. So they knew very well what they were doing. This was not just whoopsie, oh sorry, we, mixed up our assets like they claimed. This was, in fact, somebody that was employed by Bungie, one of the developers, somebody that worked in the art direction and whatnot, that actually made the active choice to steal this person's art, and they pushed it all the way through, and they were going to keep it up until somebody noticed, and the artists themselves actually ended up posting on Twitter about the incident and how they had been ripped off in the past and how they were tired of this kind of thing and that they probably wouldn't take any kind of legal action because they didn't have the money, which is, something that a lot of people are probably familiar with. Of course, Bungie is a giant mega corporation, just like a lot of other mega corporations. They're impossible to touch. And so these are just the kind of things that happen. Anyway, back to the video. So nobody really wanted that. And it gave Bungie a really bad look. They lost a lot of their hype. They lost a lot of their following over the last couple of years. They purposefully tanked one of their last DLCs for Destiny 2, and they have been terrible to their freaking employees. Like literally everything that they could do to ruin their brand and bring down the like notability that they've built over like to such a magnificent degree over the last couple of decades. Like Bungie was known as, if not the greatest, one of the greatest developers in the industry for a very long time. And they have done everything they possibly can, as I said, to pretty much dismantle that notoriety. And now they're facing a closure.
Not to say people aren't fans of the franchise anymore, they want a Destiny 3, the next chapter in
No,
the
they don't.
franchise. Many
Get
people
out of
think
here.
Destiny 2
That's
has
the
run its
okay.
course.
I will stop here and say that Mint Blitz, I like his content. I love his trick shots. I love the way that he looks at things, and I appreciate the fact that he brings content to the forefront regularly, but I feel like he is either like kissing a lot of ass or really coping. And he does it a lot where he'll say things where like, oh, the community loves this thing that the community very clearly has spoken out against, or like, oh, we're looking forward to this, and it's like, no, like literally you are the only content creator in the space that's saying anything positive about this. So I kind of feel like, I don't want to say Mint Blitz is like delusional, but I definitely feel like he's coping.
Quick side note, I'm testing Destiny 2 for the first time in a long time for
Nobody
an
wants to
upcoming video.
Destiny 3.
That is going to be interesting. Marathon, on the other hand, Bungie's new title, was announced to be delayed indefinitely. The tentative release date for Marathon is end of fiscal year 2025, which is the end of March 2026. Even Marathon, as you guys have no doubt heard by now, that's had its fair share of drama. Stolen art, developers not being listened to, executives making broad sweeping decisions that hurt their games overall. It's been negative after negative after negative, and Sony has had enough. From the research that I always do, and I've been constantly doing videos as this situation has evolved over the years, this started back in 2024. Sony acquires Bungie and shrunk the studio from 1,300 employees down to 850. This was followed by another
Jeez.
220 roles being...
So they cut 450 jobs out of their employee base. And then on top of that, Sony cut another 220, or basically put them in a position where they were forced to cut another 200. So almost 800 people, well, almost 700 people lost their jobs in just the last few months over at Bungie when they were already struggling.
Removed from the studio, and with that round, 150 of those roles moved to Sony directly. This to me was the first consolidation of Bungie being absorbed into Sony completely. The only glimmer of positive news I have with that round of layoffs was that the ex-Halo music creator and Destiny 2, Michael Salvatore, he was hired back after being laid off last year.
I feel like that is, forgive me, I guess, for the language, but that is so stupid. They freaking just fired Michael Salvatore with like no notice, no explanation, nothing. Just straight fired his ass when he's been part of Bungie for a very long time. Maybe even going back to like Halo 2 or Halo 3. He's been part of their music crew for a long time. One of the composers. He's one of their composers. He's been with them for a very long time, and they just cut him off with no explanation, no fallback, no nothing. And then like less than a year later, they're like, oh hey, by the way, you want to come back and work for us again? Yeah, no, look, we'll give you that same salary back. Like you just like nothing ever happened. Like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I just got a freaking year off with no pay for like, that was just a vacation. Like, after I freaking worked for this company for almost 30 freaking years, like, get out of here. Get out of here. Like, that is trash. Bungie has turned into such a freaking garbage company, dude. Like, that is the most just heartless, disgusting, evil thing you can do to somebody. Like, he had been a loyal member of Bungie for a very, very long time. He freaking oversaw a lot and probably overlooked a lot, and freaking like he was such a loyal member of the company, and then they just freaking cut him off, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, you wanna come back? Like, sorry about that.
Bungie was thinking, firing a man as talented as that, a veteran of the industry with a stellar portfolio. They actually had the audacity
Absolutely
to fire
outrageous.
him without any notice. Truthfully, I'm surprised he even came back after how they treated him. I really hope he demanded a substantial
For real. Oh, there.
substantial wage increase to make up
I'm
for
not gonna
being
say it.
fired. To give extra context to that, by the way, back in 2024, Bungie executives and leadership were laying off staff specifically so that when stock the employees had in the company matured, so Bungie stock
That
itself,
is another, oh my god, that is another thing they did, was they would actually lay people off. Like, they would hire them on, and I mean, this is something that they do with developers a lot. Like, they hire them on as contractors for like 18 months or something, and then just lay them off, so specifically so that they don't have to pay them any kind of stock dividends or any kind of pensions or any, like, give them any kind of benefits or freaking, you know, insurance or anything like that, because they're just contractors. They're not really part of the company. And that's the other thing too, is they use that as their freaking fallback cope. They're like, oh yeah, no, that's so, you know, we didn't really plagiarize. That was totally just an accident. See, one of our contractors, dude's not even really part of our company. So it's really like, it could have happened to anybody. Yeah, so see, this guy, he took some screenshots off of the internet and he submitted them to the executives, and we were just like, oh yeah, that's cool, bro. Like, and so we just put it in the game, you know, and then we realized later that, like, oh no, that dude just stole some screenshots off of the internet. How could we have missed that? How what kind of oversight could we possibly have done to prevent this from happening? 6 freaking times. Are you kidding me? Good God.
It's actually going to be worth something, and if an employee left with that stock matured, Bungie would have to pay them out. They didn't want to do that. They wanted to keep the money for themselves, so they fired their staff. They weren't even given a courtesy letter. They just tried to log in one day and found their email access revoked. Fast forward to this year, and I've always said that Bungie will probably never be the same again. I have quite a few friends who work
Not even
at
a
the
courtesy
studio,
flush.
and the sentiment has been shaky at best for the last 6 months. For many developers at the studio, there's not much they can do personally to help the situation, as it's outside their job description. They're assigned tasks, they complete said tasks, and I understand as a day-to-day developer, it's difficult and hard to speak up, as you could lose your job. Losing a job
Absolutely. Absolutely. They hold that shit over people's heads so much. Again, the contracts. The contracts is a big part of it. They're like, you have no say. Oh, you can't freaking talk back to us. What about our we can freaking sever you real quick, bro. We don't need you anymore. Like, you're just a contractor. You're just a freaking developing, you know, we could find 100 of you. Like, freaking Seattle is basically crawling with contracting developers. Like, we could just go on the street and hire anybody, buddy. We don't need you. Like, freaking talk back. Give us your opinion. Tell us what you think. Like, we're the executives. Like, you can't, like, it's
especially bad, as it can also mean you lose your health insurance. It is up to management to steer the ship, and it's clear they haven't.
Trash
The
people.
big headline today is Bungie is to be integrated into PlayStation Studios after Destiny 2 and Marathon underperformed. Bungie is set to lose its independent status and become fully integrated into PlayStation Studios following the underwhelming performances from Destiny 2 and the upcoming Marathon. Bungie wanting to be independent was the very reason as to why they left Halo and Microsoft to start Destiny. Bungie wanted to be free, to not be dictated into being the Halo studio. After making the agreement to make Halo 3, Reach, and ODST, they could move on and have their independence. It is now being taken away.
Oh, we can have our independence. Yeah, your independence to freaking screw whoever you want. Like, that was the one thing that was holding them back, literally, was the fact that they had people on contract, like, that were actually part of, like, the executive staff and stuff that they couldn't just cut off. Like, that was the whole thing. That was Bungie's holdup from the beginning. They didn't give a shit about freaking having, like, developmental freedom or, like, creative control or anything like that. They didn't give a shit. What they really cared about was the fact that they didn't have the ability to just hire and fire whoever the hell they wanted while they were working under Microsoft, because Microsoft was the one that ultimately made the decision. They wanted to be able to freaking hire and fire anybody that they wanted at any time, so that freaking the one dude that bought all the freaking the Ferraris and shit. We'll talk about him here in a minute.
The most notable example of the most horrible thing Pete Parsons, Bungie CEO, has
Pete
done
Parsons.
Back in 2023.
That's the guy. Pete Parsons. Literally, the whole reason that they went independent was so that Pete Parsons could freaking stuff his own pockets so that they could reduce the freaking developership so that they could have less people that they had to oversee and had to pay into so that he could freaking increase the value of his own pension.
That layoffs were partially
Pete
due to the
Parsons
quality miss
is
of
the
the
reason
Destiny 2
Bungie died.
DLC, Lightfall. But then extra information came out that showed executives purposely tanked the DLC. The exact quote read, leading to fail.
Trash.
Can you imagine how pathetic of a person you have to be to
For
purposely
real.
tank your own company's major DLC?
For
This isn't just a video
real.
game in this situation. These
Oh
are
my
people's jobs
god.
and livelihood. It was horrible.
Like,
it's yet
that's more than freaking pathetic. Like, that is straight, like, it's diabolical. It's just, good god. These people, like, they don't even comprehend the level of evil that they exist on. It's so freaking mind-blowing.
another case of executives being out of touch with massive egos, thinking they know better than everyone else, when in actuality the developers, the players, and their audience are screaming at them to change before it's too late.
Why do you even exist? Why do you exist? If you don't like, you're a video game developer, and your main focus is to ignore everything that the community is telling you. Oh my god. Like, Bungie deserved to die such a long time ago.
Hey, now it is, and I hope Sony absolutely axes the delusional leadership at the studio. Do what Microsoft did with 343 Industries.
Please.
And wipe the slate clean, as it's clear the leadership at Bungie don't have the players' best
I feel like they have plenty of grounds to freaking relieve Pete Parsons of his position with zero fallback. Like, he should not receive a golden parachute. When he came out specifically and stated that they had, like, he didn't come out, but it was released, leaked, I should say, that he internally had hopes that their freaking DLC would tank so that they could move on to a new project or whatever, and that they were tired of capitulating to the whims of the community, that it had been going on for too long or whatever. Like, that right there, I feel like should be grounds for him to just be like straight removed. Like, if you are coming out and saying to people, whether it's in the executive staff or whether it's anybody at the company or whether it's publicly, God forbid, that you are intentionally trying to tank your own company, then you should just be let go, like relieved, gone immediately, right there, no more, goodbye.
Hell, they don't even have their employees' best interests at heart. Need I remind anyone that Pete Parsons, the CEO, spent millions on cars every year while developers got the axe. To give more context to the news today as to why Sony is taking away Bungie's independence, it's that back in 2022, Sony acquired Bungie for $3.6 billion. The agreement itself allowed the developer to operate independently.
$3 billion. $3 billion. And they were intentionally trying to reduce the value of their own product. Wow.
Provided profitability targets were met. As you can no doubt tell, these targets were not met at all. The PlayStation CEO said directly today, Bungie's independence is getting lighter, and the studio is shifting into a role where it's becoming more a part of PlayStation Studios. Integration is proceeding. I paraphrase as English is their second language, but you get the general idea. The PlayStation CEO went on to say, in the long term, you can see this as an ongoing process.
Assimilation is imminent. Resistance is futile. Yeah. I mean, I really don't know how to feel about that. I mean, like, so Sony paid for something like 60% of the company, so they have the ownership share. Like, Bungie, the executives of Bungie really should have known what they were doing. I mean, like, how could they literally be that stupid? It's almost like they were intentionally trying to ruin their lives and the lives of everybody else that's attached to the company. It's crazy to me.
So the direction is to become part of PlayStation Studios. Bungie will continue to exist as a studio, but it will operate as a first-party developer creating titles for Sony's core audience. This is a massive, monumental day for Bungie as a
God, that
studio,
is.
as if things continue to go the way they're going, the entire
Does that not make you sick to your stomach? Freaking Halo watchers, Halo fans, like, Bungie will now be a first party product of Sony, PlayStation. This is literally like the greatest travesty in gaming history. Like, if you don't understand the implications of that, that basically is like the beginning of the end for Microsoft. Maybe even first person shooters. Like, it's that big of a deal. I mean, that might sound hyperbolic, but I'm so serious. Like, the idea that Bungie is now a first party product of Sony is not just like an opinion piece to say like, oh, well, like they exchanged hands and Microsoft lost their biggest IP or whatever. Like, it's more than that. Like, that is like a herald of things to come for the gaming industry. Like, that is an omen of where we are today. It's I think it literally spells the end for Microsoft. Like, the idea that Bungie is now a first party product IP owned by PlayStation should be a massive red flag to everybody in the gaming community. Not like not like Sony shouldn't be allowed to freaking own it or whatever, but the idea that one of the biggest names in gaming development history has fallen so far is almost not even imaginable. It's kind of unfathomable in a way. It's sad. It makes me feel sick to some degree. It's a very sad day for gaming.
A studio could be dissolved completely after Marathon's release. The line that says, in the long term, you can see this as an ongoing process, so the direction is to become part of PlayStation Studios. I know by no means
I love
is
it.
it even close to the old classic Halo Bungie, but it still makes me sad in a way. Speaking of Marathon, by the way, the release, the CEO also said they're on track to release it, things haven't changed, and the game will be going ahead. Marathon is being tested right now as we speak, but I have no idea what changes have been made, and I can only hope
Marathon's
players
cooked.
and the broader gaming audience have been listened to. It will forever be crazy to me that Marathon has a rich history of lore,
I
backstory,
hope
and
Marathon is
already
cooked.
existing strong narrative elements. Add on that Bungie always used to do amazing campaign and multiplayer titles, and then you come up with an extraction shooter that feels clunky, slow, and the story of that even hasn't been written yet. I mean, come on. The Sony CEO also stated that the performance of Concord, which lost hundreds of millions of dollars, definitely factored into decision making. I'd say
Oh,
Sony
for sure.
and PlayStation.
Oh, for sure. Oh my God, yeah. Like, so many people were memeing about it, but like, how would PlayStation not see the clear writing on the wall there? Like, freaking, they just had like the biggest flop blow up in gaming history, blow up in their face. And they're looking at what is basically like a sequel like of that incident. Like, if Sony if Sony had allowed Bungie to continue beyond this point, I would have said the other way around, that this would have spelled the end for Sony. Like, I mean, the Bungie, what happens with Bungie right now and what is happening with Bungie right now literally spells the future of the gaming industry. Like, I'm so, like, it is that serious.
and are worried that Marathon will be another such case. It very well might be. Even if every perfect change is made to Marathon, there's
It's
no
just
guarantee
over.
the game will succeed. So many bridges have already been burnt that I genuinely don't know if there's anything that can be done to
Yeah, the
save it.
community's
My
over
guess
it.
is a Splitgate style scenario, an initial population
Not
at
even.
launch, and then it tapers off over time. The only thing that may save the game
Nah.
is that it
Nah, Splitgate did actually pretty well. I mean, they never hit Call of Duty numbers or whatever, but Splitgate still has a very dedicated player base. Halo Infinite has not had more than like 1,500 concurrent players in over a year. Bungie 2, or not Bungie, Destiny 2 has not broken more than like 15K concurrent players in over the last year. And in fact, I think they lost something like 80% of their player base in just the last couple of years. I I don't think there was ever any hope, chance, opportunity, shot in the dark, chance in hell that Bungie was ever going to get anywhere with Marathon. Not as it sits. Not as it was sitting. It is cooked. Marathon is dead. The best thing that Sony can possibly do is literally to melt it, incinerate it, get rid of the script, lose it, forget it ever happened. Marathon, let it go.
has the Bungie name. What Sony said directly about Marathon as a whole is that it will probably launch some point before April 2026, although that's not a commitment. If you were curious as to when Bungie is going to show off more new things for Marathon, it'll be in autumn for Americans, so spring for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere. The final thing that the Sony CEO said was that if this launch is cancelled, so if Marathon does get cancelled and doesn't come out, we would need to do a revision of the valuation of Bungie. However, as of now, this is not expected. And that's it. What a day. Bungie has lost its independence. A day
Of
I saw
course it's not
coming after the
expected.
recent history and controversy, but still, it closes a chapter in one of my favorite gaming companies. Growing up, I
Yeah.
loved Bungie and the classic Halos that released. Hell, even Destiny 1 still had that charm to me. It's evident
Yep.
over time things changed for the worst. Sony was
That
losing money
was
because of it, so they're stepping in
yeah.
to make good on the money they invested. I genuinely wonder if Destiny 3 will ever happen now. Will Bungie even make a
God,
new
please
IP
no.
again? Are they going to be able to make
Nope.
their own games anymore? Or is Bungie
Nope.
going to get turned into a glorified support studio for
Yep.
the PlayStation Network? Either way, it's a big day in gaming. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys later.
I think even just like mulling that over, like the idea of that is cope. I really, I mean, it hurts. It really hurts, but it is an end of an era. I mean, it like Destiny was Bungie's last chance, if you ask me. Like, I know people like I'm a fatalist or whatever, and I'm always looking at the most negative way of it, but I really just feel like the last chance Bungie had to revive their reputation would literally have to, or would have been to put their focus, like double down, like redouble their efforts into into Destiny, and never have done Destiny 2. Like Destiny 2 was such a kick to the gut for everybody that had trusted Bungie and stuck with them into their new IP after they freaking did their final hurrah with Halo Reach. I mean, like, it's just over. It's just over for them. I'm disappointed. It hurts, but it is what it is, I guess. Definitely check it out. Mint Blitz, The End of Bungie, released 4 days ago. Some very relevant information in there. Give him a thumbs up. Uh, hit him up with a subscribe or follow. Mint Blitz is a pretty popular streamer. He does trick shot content and stuff. I have been watching him for literally years, long before I ever even knew what his voice sounded like. But in any case, I think that's where I'm going to end it today. For now, I'm going to call it there. Greatly appreciate you all. Hope that everybody stays safe, stay cool. Definitely a scorcher this summer. Unless you're in the southern hemisphere, then get some extra blankets or something. I don't know what the winter's like right now in the south, but hope that you enjoyed the content. I hope that you know, maybe someday we can get back to that community driven era of gaming that really brought us all together and made gaming what it is today. Like, gaming would not be such a massive popular thing if it hadn't have been for the communities that were put together. The speedrunning communities, the walkthrough communities, all of those blogs and just the chat rooms, game facts, FAQs, all of those, just all of that. Like, it's an era that I think a lot of us miss, and it would be nice to get back to. So yeah, hope to see everybody in the next one. If you haven't already, hit that follow button, check out the affiliate codes down below, and as always, trust in the Bloodlust.